How's it going, everyone? It's Harvey from Weather Sponge 5000, and in this video, we're going to talk more about this atmospheric river that's expected to bring historic rainfall right up along the California coast. So, if you live right over California and other West Coast states, you definitely need to pay close attention to this because this could bring life-threatening flooding in certain areas and some of the worst flooding you've ever seen in your lifetime in many of these areas. And same goes for the heavy snowfall in the higher elevations where some areas could receive over 7 feet of snow from this atmospheric river. And we're also going to talk about the possibility of a major Midwest blizzard happening within around 7 days from now or so. So first, let's begin by taking a look at what's happening right now. We do have a low pressure system centered right over the Midwest. That's bringing some heavier rainfall right over the southeast. This is expected to continue to head further eastward, and it won't strengthen much. There isn't a lot of instability behind this storm system. It is dumping a heavy amount of snowfall right over the higher elevations of Colorado, so watch out for that if you're in and around that area. But moving forward with the forecast, this is a storm system we're really worried about right up along the coast of California. So this is the late Sunday time frame. We see just very heavy rainfall right up along the California coast, right up along Big Sur, San Francisco. You're getting involved, especially Santa Barbara is expected to receive the worst of the rainfall, and this rainfall is expected to move down southward into LA and San Diego as well, where you could expect anywhere between 5 to 8 inches of rain. So it's going to begin right around Santa Barbara and LA right around Sunday evening. For San Francisco, it'll begin earlier than that, of course, since you guys are a little bit further westward. It should begin as early as Sunday morning, and then it should last all throughout the day. It's gonna start off as moderate rain before it really becomes heavy right over San Francisco and eventually Santa Barbara as we approach late Sunday into early Monday. And then Monday is when I expect the worst of the rainfall for Southern California, places like Santa Barbara, Los Angeles, San Diego, as well as Long Beach. You definitely need to be prepared for some of the worst potentially flooding you've ever seen in your lifetime. Look at the millibar pressure of this storm system, 988 millibars, and the winds as well should be gusty right up along the coast, especially if you're a little bit further northward into California, where you're going to be very close to this low pressure system. As throughout the day on Monday, this is where the rain should be the heaviest in Southern California, and then eventually we should see the rain lighten down by the time we approach Monday evening until the early portion of Tuesday. And by the way, this forecast is very certain at this time, so definitely don't hope for a weaker scenario, because more likely than not you're going to experience just flooding that's very concerning right up along the west coast. So you need to prepare as if the flooding is expected to impact your area at this time, because it's pretty much guaranteed it's going to happen. So moving forward into Tuesday morning, we see that the rain lightens down, but it's still going to be over Southern California, where you should expect a moderate amount of rainfall before, I'll say by Wednesday, the rain showers will mainly be relegated as scattered rain showers before the Thursday time frame, where everything should be mainly clear for Southern California once again. But if we were to take a look a little bit further northeastward, we do see a lot of these areas along the western half of the United States in the higher elevations do experience snowfall, where I'll say in the higher elevations of California, the Sierra mountain ranges, you should expect right around 5 to 7 feet of snow, which is just a ton of snow. Make sure to prepare for that if you're in the higher elevations of the Sierra mountain range, and same goes for a lot of these areas for the western states in the higher elevations. I don't expect it to be as the snowfall to be as heavy per se as what you're gonna see in California, but you still should expect anywhere between 3 to 6 to 6 to 12 inches of snowfall, and then a little bit more than a foot of snowfall in the extreme higher elevations in the more localized areas. So definitely be aware of that for this scenario. And in terms of the track of this low pressure system, so some were thinking that this will take a track further southward, and a few times a low pressure system has been around that track, but it's not going to happen like that based on what the latest run of the European model is stating, where it wants to take this storm system a little bit further northward thanks to this strong amount of ridging we're going to see along the east coast. So if you're hoping for snowfall up along the east coast, this low pressure system isn't going to be your next potential of snowfall, as it seems like the ridging is just too strong, as the snowfall will mainly be relegated to the extreme northern portions of the Midwest and even other areas which are typically cold during this time of the year, like Minneapolis. You're going to experience entirely a rain event from this, and most of the Midwest will as well, as it just seems like this low is going to be a little bit too farther north to bring snowfall to you guys. Now, in terms of snowfall, you should expect in the higher elevations of California. So if we were to take a look at that, you're going to see that moving forward with the forecast, we clearly see that you should expect well over 4 or 5 feet of snow in the higher elevations, and then other areas should expect maybe around a foot of snow fall right over the west coast. It won't be as heavy as what you're going to see in California, thanks to the fact that this storm system will weaken thanks to the fact that it's going to move further northward and the jet stream will stabilize, so it's going to have less contact with the warmer temperature and more humid air mass that's a little bit further southward, but still should bring a heavy amount of snowfall over the higher elevations, and then maybe 3 to 6 inches of snowfall right over the northern Midwest, but don't expect anything more than that. And take a look at the rainfall accumulation forecast for the western half of the United States. We see that this rain is going to be bananas right up along the coast of Southern California and extending northward into the Central California region as well, where places like Santa Barbara as well as LA, you guys should expect 5 to 8 inches of rain, which is just an insane amount of rainfall in a short period of time. To put that in perspective, LA and Santa Barbara only on average typically see 15 inches of rainfall throughout the entire year. So, and there's a possibility that these cities could receive up to 8 inches of rainfall, which is nearly half the entire average rainfall you see in those cities in just 2 days, which is probably guaranteed to bring extreme flash flooding to those cities. So you definitely need to watch out if you live in more flood prone areas, especially in the higher elevations where the rainfall should be even more enhanced right over those areas. And same goes for the areas that are further northward up along the coast. San Diego should expect right around 3 to 5 inches of rain, and then a little bit further westward eastward, we see the rain won't be as heavy, but you still need to watch out for isolated areas of flash flooding right around the Las Vegas region and portions of Arizona as well. Next, let's talk about the next potential Midwest snowstorm that could happen right around a week or so from now. So taking a look at what the latest run of the European model is stating, we do see a small low pressure system develop right around the central portion of the country, and a lot of weathermen have been talking like there's going to be a major snowstorm in the Midwest, getting everyone fired up, but it's still a little bit too early to say for certain if this is gonna occur. We're still around 192 hours out for the computer models really get the specifics right with this storm system. But based on what we're seeing, it seems like the European model does expect a decent amount of cold air just to the north of it for the snowfall to impact areas like Iowa, Nebraska, northern Kansas, and into Chicago as well. Milwaukee is getting involved, and going into Michigan and upstate New York and New England, we're seeing that possibility of snowfall in those areas as well. Now, I know a lot of people have been talking like it's gonna happen, but getting everyone fired up, but we're still gonna need to wait and see how the ridging will build just to the east of this low pressure system, because we do see this ridge might be a little bit too strong to a point where it'll mainly relegate the snow just north of the more populated areas. But in this scenario, we still do see that some bigger cities like Chicago and Milwaukee get involved. And of course, another thing we're going to need to take a look at is the amount of cold air that's going to be behind this low pressure system. We do see it'll bring a decent amount of snowfall right over the west coast, but as it approaches the Midwest, there won't be a ton of cold air for this storm system to be very powerful, which means that the snowfall, if we were to see snowfall, wouldn't be very heavy, and it'll mainly be right around 1 to 3 to 3 to 6 inches of snowfall you'd see in a scenario like this. But there's still a lot of time for the forecast to change, for the computer models to potentially detect a little bit more instability to really determine how much convective activity there will be just to the north of it to really determine the amount of snowfall. So we're just gonna have to wait and see. But based on what the European model is stating, it wants to bring a pretty large area of 1 to 3 inches of snowfall. And by the way, this would happen right around the February 10th to February 11th timeframe, which would be around Sunday into Monday of next week. So definitely pay close attention to that if you live right up along the path of this storm system, as it's certainly a possibility, especially with the GFS model taking a very similar track when it comes to this storm system. So if we were to take a look at that, while the GFS model does take a similar track, it expects a much weaker storm system, or at least a storm system that doesn't bring as large of an area of snowfall. And if we were to take a look at that, we see that the area of snow isn't as large and the snowfall is a little bit further northward, but it does bring some heavier snowfall to portions of the northeast, but just expects to track a little bit further northward as later during its run it does strengthen a little bit more. So the fact that the GFS and the European model do take a similar trajectory makes me believe that we're at least going to see a forecast that's at least somewhere within the ballpark of this. There still could be significant changes. We could easily still see the snowfall move southward to maybe impact areas like New York City, or even areas even further southward than that. Still a lot of time, but so I can at least assure that there will at least be some sort of snowstorm moving through the United States by the time we approach the weekend of February 10th. So definitely at least keep tabs on that throughout the Midwest and Northeast. So it's still a little bit too early to say what's going to happen with this storm system. But that's it for now, guys, and I thank you guys for watching.